Welcome to another episode of the Words to Your Mother podcast, where we talk openly and honestly with the goal of normalizing mental health conversations until even your mom gets it. Today's show is an actual pro interview from The Vault, where we talked to Dr. Rachel Kowert, a research director at Take This. We talked about social connections and gaming, and as a gamer myself, I fully recognize the importance of social connections online, and especially now, I hope even more people have come to realize that connections that aren't face-to-face are still really vital to our own well-being. Since this interview, which was conducted in December of 2019, many of us have been able to lean even further on things like FaceTime, Zoom, or Discord to keep us connected to one another. This reflection today, back to the before times, just underscores that this need for connection has been there all along. I hope you enjoy the interview. We are here. I am super excited to have a wonderful guest today with Dr. Rachel Kowert, who is the research... Kowert? Is that right?
It is Kowert, but
Kowert,
everyone
okay.
says Kowert, so
all right,
do not dismay. Yes.
Okay, well, we are here with Dr. Kowert. She's a research director of Take This. She's published and spoken on a range of topics relating to the uses and effects of digital games, including its impact on physical, social, and psychological well-being. She's published several books and was just talking about a book just a second ago that she published, and scientific articles relating to the psychology of games, and more recently, the relationship between games and mental health specifically. Her most recent book, A Parent's Guide to Video Games, won an Indies Award in the science category. So a couple of things for you guys to go and check out. If you're not already following Dr. Kowert on Twitter, I'm going to give you her Twitter. And then if you have not visited her website also, I'm going to give you her website too. So there you go. A couple things right off the bat. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
I'm caffeinated and ready to go.
Caffeinated is important. Yes.
It is. It's key.
Caffeination is key and wonderful. So super excited to talk to you today specifically about, yes, caffeine is life. Absolutely, bite mark.
Yes, you are correct. And if I look over here, it's because the chat is over here.
That's okay. I've got two screens and I go back and forth. So it is all good. Oh, you know what? All right, chat, we're going to have a queue set up. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, as she very quickly opens the queue that she forgot to open just a second ago because she was having problems, it is open now. We do have a queue open. If you have questions as we go, feel free to pop those in there. !Queue, add the note in, and then hit enter. It'll enter into a queue. It is one question per user at a time. So after we get to your question, I'll clear it out and you can ask another one. But also, I just keep an eye on the chat. So if you ask it and I miss it, feel free to re-ask it. It is totally fine. How dare you is the first question. No, that's not
really a question.
Yeah, that's how my 5-year-old does. How dare you? Oh, he's 6 now. Yes.
Aww.
Engaged Family Gaming says, "Oh my God, hi BFF."
Hello, sir. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I haven't seen you in a long time. Engaged Family Gaming, if you don't know, very good resource.
Okay.
Family gaming, tabletop, digital, all the things.
I love it. I love it. Could I get a shout out for Engaged Family Gaming so we can check them out? Or I don't know what a short thing to call you is, so I'm just going to call you family because we're all family. We're all family here, right?
There you go.
EFG. There you go. If you have a link you want to pop in, you're welcome to pop that link into the chat as well. The first question that I have for you today is why do you do what you do?
Well, I am a lifelong gamer, so I will start there. Always had an interest in playing games, and when I got older and I went to school for psychology, first I realized you can't do anything in the field of psychology without a graduate degree. So I went to graduate school to become a clinician, and during that time, I was seeing clients, I was seeing parents, and one after the other was saying, my child is playing a lot of World of Warcraft. This was like 2006. It was height World of Warcraft time.
Yes.
Is there something bad happening to them because they were playing lots of World of Warcraft? And after like the 5th or 6th parent, like I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft. So then I was like, oh my God, like, is something bad happening because I'm playing a lot of World of Warcraft? But game studies was just a brand new field. There was very little research. There was only a couple people doing it. So I pivoted away from becoming a clinician and into research to answer my own questions about myself and to also inform other parents who it was a growing concern. And we see today, and it's still a concern for many parents about the effects of digital games on their children.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I think that a lot of people are driven by unanswered questions, right? You have a question about something, you're like, I want to know more about this. And then you find out, oh, I should really, figure out more about this myself. And if there's not more out there, I should help people find this.
Right, exactly. There wasn't. And especially because my focus was about the social impact of games, there was literally nothing but assumptions. At the time, there was no research at all. So, yes.
Yeah. Good old WoW, yeah.
Yeah.
Bite Mark was a big WoW player.
Oh, wow. Kindred spirits. I played a lot of WoW.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have a favorite book and a favorite movie? A favorite fiction book, I'll say, and a favorite movie?
I definitely have both of those things. My favorite book is The Iliad, which is old school, my Homer.
That is old school.
I tried reading it, yeah, really old school. I tried reading it several times, and it's kind of dense and hard to read. But in college, I came across a translation by Stanley Lombardo, and I don't know what it is, how he translated this book, but it just reads like a normal novel. So it was like actually something you could read.
Lombardo.
Yeah. It's like the best translation I've ever found. And I think that I like it so much in the same reason I like Game of Thrones, because it's just like all these different stories of like love and war, and they're all interwoven, and it's just an epic tale, and it's wonderful and lovely. Favorite movie is Amadeus. Best Picture 1983.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful movie. If you've never seen it, you're welcome. You should watch it. It's fantastic. And it's about Mozart. So you kind of have to like classical music to like it.
I have not seen that. So 1983.
Oh, it is so good. I cannot explain. Like, actually, the way I explain it is, it's the only movie I've ever seen where I don't feel like I'm watching people acting. I feel like I'm like watching it like actually happen, because the acting is that good.
Yeah, that's a high praise.
It's a wonderful movie, and it's got opera, and yeah, it's great.
Oh, very nice. I will definitely have to check it out. My favorite is The Labyrinth, which is also an 80s movie, and it just
great movie.
Love that movie.
Is a great movie.
It is a very good one. I don't remember what year that came out though, but I know that it was in the 80s, because that's when I watched it.
That hair was very 80s. It has to be 80s.
You know what? That hair was really 80s.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Can you explain to us why it's important to have friends in general, and kind of what are the benefits of friendships and strong social connections, generally speaking? 86.
Sure. So friends are important. If we want to kind of take a little bit of a trip down a theoretical perspective, there's a theory called social determination theory. And this says that there are 3 aspects of psychological needs that we have that make us feel happy and fulfilled and all of the good things. The first is feeling autonomous, so feeling like we have control, feeling like we can make an impact on the world around us. The second is competence, so feeling like we're good at something. And the third is relatedness, so being connected to other people. So of the 3 main pillars that we need, connection is one of the 3.
Yeah.
And the reason is that friendships provide us, for lack of a better term, social currency. They provide social support. They provide emotional support. They can provide tangible favors. If you need help moving, a friend can come and help you lift a heavy box. So they provide all of those things, and all of those things combined have been linked to a variety of positive outcomes: a longer life, greater happiness, reduce stress, reduce loneliness. They can help you foster skills, like social skills, or I have a friend across the street who's been teaching me how to sew. So,
nice.
all of those wonderful things combined. Yeah, I know. I'm not very good, but whatever.
You're better than I am. I can almost guarantee.
So, generally speaking, if you want the TLDR, friends give you a longer life and increased happiness.
I'm on board.
And they'll help you move, maybe, if they'll
help you move.
Friend.
Or sometimes you can, try to bribe your brother-in-law to come over and help you with something technology related.
Right. You see? And if you didn't have friends, you didn't have anyone to bribe.
Yeah. So. See? There you go. I like it. Getting someone else to move the heavy boxes equals longer life. That's my takeaway. I think that's a fair assessment.
That's perfect. You can tweet that. That's
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. D, how are you doing? There seems to be this kind of perception, typically outside the gaming community. I will say that the gaming community is pretty good about recognizing that online connections are a real friendship, or can be a real friendship. Not every person you meet online is going to be a real friend. But there's that perception that face-to-face interactions are a little bit more valuable than a computer-mediated interaction, or that those are less meaningful. Do you feel that is the case?
No. I do not. And I think that is a very pervasive assumption that people have. And from what I can tell from people I've talked to and from research I've done specifically on that, is that the middle of the argument seems to be the fact that online friendships cannot provide tangible favors. Because online friendships are capable equally, or in some cases more so, adept at providing social and emotional support. So if you look at the research, people perceive online friendships to be as real, that's the quote, as real or more real than any other than any offline friendship. People tend to self-disclose personal information, sometimes even with their online friends before their offline friends.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a safe space. I can tell you about the problems I'm having with friend A without you telling friend B that I was talking about friend A.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So online friends can provide a function that offline friends cannot. And with the tangible favors, again, I was on the side of the road with a flat tire once, and I called my brother, and he hung up on me because it was early. So how's that for helping me with tangible favors? Right? So that's how I feel about it.
Well, and I'll say, after my papa went missing in 2017, I really kind of rejoined the gaming community because I had been out of it for a while, and that kind of drove me, to find a little bit of an escape, but it was good because I met some really great people through RuneScape, and I actually did have Miss Fee. I don't know if she's here right now, but she sent me nail polish. Like, that is a tangible favor. I've got all kinds of nail polish back here, but yeah, but she sent me nail polish, and I sent her nail polish. So I think that it's, especially now, it used to be when I was in high school, it was like, you enter a chat room and the first thing is ASL. Well, that sounds really creepy, but now there's less of a focus on the chat room type interaction and more of the focus on like let's just all be in a giant group chat through Discord or through, a game or whatever. And it's really some pretty good interactions, even if you never meet some of these people face to face. And as far as disclosing stuff, like, it's way easier for me to say, I'm having a problem with my child right now, and I just need a vent.
Right.
Or I'm having a problem with my partner right now, and I just need to get it off my chest and move on. And it's like, I can't do that with a friend who I see every day necessarily, because then they're going to want to follow up with me later.
Right. Or it'll change the relationship they have with your partner.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I was, younger, in the middle of the night, if I had a problem, you can't call your friends. This is pre everyone having a cell phone, because you can't call the house in the middle of the night, right? Because that's not what you do when you're 17 years old. The parents will be mad.
Gonna wake up mom and dad, yeah.
Right. But now I can hop on Discord because I have friends in all time zones, all over the world, and be like, hey, I'm having a problem. So for me, I like to say they just serve different functions. I wouldn't say one is more valuable than the other. They're just different, and they're equally valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely valid. Venting to internet folks is way easier. It absolutely is. Yes.
I mean, and there's research to support that. You don't have nonverbal cues. Again, there's like less social repercussions. You can, mediated text allows you to perfectly edit the message that you're sending.
Yes.
There's a lot of research behind that, making it easier. And that's why I guess it happens quicker in online relationships than face-to-face relationships.
Yeah. Hugs are better in real life. That's a good, but there is no physical connection really with online friends. And I think that's fair. True. Like if I'm going through something really heavy and I share it with my best friend, like she's going to come over and bring a bottle of wine and we're going to, sit next to each other and clean glasses and get over it eventually. But
right. But that's why they're different but valuable. So if you're having something happening where you want the physical hug, I agree. There is no substitution for that. Loading virtual hug, not the same.
Yes.
No. That's who you would call. So you would call the person who can provide that for you.
Yeah, that's the two different functions. I think that's a really good distinction there. So does this computer-mediated socialization, kind of the online friends piece, versus the IRL friends piece, does one of those impact creativity more or mood more or health more or anything like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say one is more. There's research to show that playing games improves creativity, like Minecraft, for instance. But, playing D&D around a table with your friends also is linked to increased creativity. I think the argument is everything should be about balance. Like, you shouldn't be getting all of your needs met in a digital form. Probably, that's probably not good for you, I'm going to say. Everything's about balance. But being able to access Minecraft, I live in Canada. When it's really snowy and cold and you don't want to go outside, it's great to have the option to have Minecraft and play that with your friends. My daughter plays Minecraft with her neighborhood friends. They're in a private realm, and she can do that because it's -15 outside and not super great for building a snowman. It's a little too cold. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but
no, I mean, and that's fair. I mean, they can all. I feel like with an online community, it's probably easier to get really offended very quickly. You have a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, where with your close group of friends, maybe they kind of know your points and all that stuff. Oh, Engaged Family Gaming said you bought a ticket for that ride, dude.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, but
I did buy a ticket. I love Canada.
Yeah. The opposite could say, see, there you go. That's what I was just going to say, by Mark. The opposite could be said for me, because when it's 110 degrees outside in the summer, I ain't going outside if I can help it.
No. Right. Let the record show I am from Texas, so I understand what 110 in August in Texas feels like. You also, definitely go outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you bring up a really good point about mediated socialization. It's good and it's bad. So people get offended more easily because you don't have the nonverbal cues, because you can't hear sarcasm in the inflection in the voice or see them smiling or whatever. So there's always like a flip side. It's not, I don't want to say that everything is all perfect and great and rainbows. Like, pluses and negatives.
Yeah. And that's completely fair. And let the record state that if you read something from me and you wonder if it's sarcasm, it probably is. That's just me. How does mediated socialization impact our ability to socialize in non-mediated contexts?
So this was the focus of my thesis, because the primary concern I was getting from
bonus points.
The primary concern I was getting from parents was that exactly, like, how is text-based communication, and now it's even more with like texting and whatever, impacting their actual skill level and ability to socialize. And I did studies over several years, and I found that it had no significant statistical impact. It's not to say it isn't. I just don't find it. So if there is, I didn't find it. So in terms of actual ability, and from my perspective, that makes sense because we're not living in a vacuum. We're still going to school, or we're still going to work, or we still have family that we're interacting with. And the difference would be reading nonverbal cues and giving nonverbal cues, because the verbal aspect is still there. Right. So no significant differences.
Okay. I love that you did your thesis on it. I didn't realize there was that connection.
There is, yeah. I know. I saw that question and I was like, aha, I can answer that.
I like it. That's great. Was there a correlation between WoW playing and the number of Chuck Norris jokes known, though?
Oh, I didn't measure that. But I feel like there would be. Mm-hmm. That would be my hypothesis.
Yes, the hypothesis would definitely be yes. Was not a data point, though.
No, it was not.
Anecdotally, I would say yes. See, there you go. We're getting some agreements here. For someone who already has online friends and social connections in an online form, whether that is gaming or social media, how important is it for them to maintain those?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just as important as it is to maintain any other kind of relationship. The cool thing about online friends, I think, is the fact that you can take your offline friends online, which happens relatively often. The opposite doesn't happen as often, taking your online friends offline. It does, but just not very frequently. So it allows another environment to deepen relationships. So I like to play games with my friends online, and you can see who you can trust and who has good reaction time and who is terrible at getting out of the way. But it's just it's another environment in which you can help foster relationships. And when I was younger, I moved away in 8th grade, which is terrible. Don't try not to move your kids in the middle of 8th grade. Just a little side note tip. But if I would have had online games then, or Discord channels, that would have been fantastic to have that bridge between as you transition into a new environment.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I wasn't thinking this whenever I put this question in there, but now I'm kind of thinking in terms of so this is hard because my daughter just never gets grounded, but if I were to ground my daughter from the computer or something, you know what, it just can't happen because she uses the computer for homework every day. But all right, so if I was to ground her specifically from something like Discord, would that have a negative impact on her in some way?
So I would like to approach this question from a research perspective versus a mom perspective, because different mom opinions sometimes from research opinions. There is research looking at the use of social networking for girls aged 9 to 12. And they find that people who use the social networking sites for their friendship groups do foster a sense of belonging. And the people who do not use them do report lower sense of belonging within their friendship group because they're missing out on these inside jokes and this and that and the other thing. So I guess there is that to consider. But, from a mom perspective, I would absolutely ground my kids from that. If they did something, I mean, over a short-term changes, I don't know for sure, but my educated guess would not cause any long-term detrimental effects. Technology is a privilege, and if they're not using it correctly, this is my mom voice.
Right.
Anyway. Yep.
Yeah, we've definitely had moments of, okay, you were supposed to do 20 topics in your math program and you've only done 3 of them because, hey, mom can check what's going on. It's Wednesday, these are due on Friday. So we've had all right, you don't open Discord until you've done this many kind of thing. But it hasn't been, she's never gotten to the point where I've had to be like, you're done for a week, no more.
But you could, and I don't think she would be permanently damaged.
Yeah.
Might miss out on a few inside jokes, but
right. And she can always just scroll up and read them.
That's the good thing about Discord, you see? That's true.
That's right. Engaged Family Gaming said that happened to me too. My dad changed jobs when I was in 8th grade. Freaking brutal. Oof.
8th grade is a really bad time. And I moved from small town Texas to southern Florida.
Oh.
quite a different environment
Yes.
for a girl who likes video games.
Yeah.
Great.
A little bit. For a while when we removed Fortnite from our 11-year-old, he definitely lost touch with his friend group. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Keep your tail down.
I mean, it's a place for friends to gather, just like, friends gathered at the arcade, just like friends gather at the library, like wherever it was that friends gathered, that is where they're gathering now. So taking it away is it's the same as saying you can't hang out with your friends for a week because you misbehaved.
Yeah.
But that's, a normal parenting technique that's been around.
Yes.
The beginning of time. I don't know.
I definitely went through some of those, okay, well, you can't go do this with your friends for a week, kind of, when we didn't necessarily I didn't really get into gaming until I was in high school. And so I didn't really have these online communities or anything, but it was definitely okay, well, you're not going to, after the next football game, you're coming straight home. You're not going to Whataburger to hang out.
You are a Texas girl. After the next football game, you're not going to Whataburger.
Yes.
That is the most Texas sentence I've ever heard.
That probably is the most Texas sentence I've ever spoken.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was in band too, so it wasn't like I could skip the football game. I had to be there. So
yeah. That's funny.
Alex, hey, how are you? We had to go through a grounding for a couple of weeks from using computers for anything other than school. She was noticeably different with and without it, and we felt that it was very effective, and she has improved on the reason we had to ground her for grades. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you have to think too, like, self-regulation is something that we establish over time. So it's hard to regulate, like, oh, but if I just push this button, all my friends are here and they're telling jokes and it's super fun, and if I push this button, it's like math homework.
Yes.
So I mean, they learn that over time, and you teach them over time. So that's awesome that worked for you and your child.
Yeah, definitely. So another kind of hot topic lately is gaming disorder, which you said you've talked about, just a little bit. And a lot of non-gamers point at games as the fault for a lot of things in society. But beyond this blame game, at what point does gaming actually become a disorder? Okay.
So, gaming disorder is officially recognized by the World Health Organization, but it is not officially recognized by the American Psychiatric Association. So, we'll make that distinction first. They have called for more research in the area. So, for them, the jury is still out. And for me, I have to agree that the research has not sufficiently demonstrated that gaming in and of itself is the root of any kind of problem. And if you look at media effects generally, so like how, for instance, violent video games affect aggressive or violent behavior, or any other kind of media effect like that where A causes B, the effects are minimal. And if you account for things like age or gender or family dynamics or personality or whatever, the effect of media itself is negligible. Now, if we want to pivot and talk about, okay, the WHO recognizes gaming disorder. When it becomes technically a disorder is when it detrimentally affects every single aspect of your life for 12 months or more. So it has to detrimentally affect your work, your school, your relationships, your sleep, your physical health, every aspect of your life for 12 months. So it has to be, it's not just, hey, I got the new Final Fantasy over Christmas and I'm playing it a lot.
Right.
And then when school starts again, I go back. That was my childhood. It has to be more than that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like that's fair. And I think that a lot of things that you just hear versus what is actually diagnosable are two completely separate things. And that drives me a little bit crazy. But I mean, there is a point where, yes, it does become a disorder. And yes, you need to maybe watch for some of those warning signs. But if it's not affecting every aspect of your life, and if it's a new game, like I'm glad you put that in there, because if it's the new hot game, or even just an update of a game, right? It can really be temporary and not necessarily a disorder level.
Right. So we call it, increased engagement or prolonged engagement is a kind of like marathoning over spring break and then just like going back. And that's the other thing, marathoning and binge watching. Whenever you talk about people who watch all the Netflix stuff, you're either marathoning it, which is like positive, or you're binge watching it, which sounds like inherently negative. So why is it like, okay, I'm perfectly normal with binge watching all 3 seasons of Legion, Okay. But if my child committed the same amount of hours to prolonged engagement with Fortnite, I would say that that's a problem, even though their interaction is far more active than sitting and watching
Right.
3 seasons of Legion, which was awesome, by the way. So yeah.
Well, I'm from here on out calling my binge watching marathoning. I think that's a much better term. I love it.
It's a marathon. Yeah.
And that is a really good point, because gaming, definitely the game itself is interactive, but then also if it's a game that you're playing with other people, then you're interacting with other people too, where marathoning Netflix, maybe you're sitting there watching it with 1 or 2 people, but you're not interacting with them, you're not interacting with the show. There's not that level of engagement. I think that's a really that's an interesting thing that what are you doing this weekend? Marathoning. Okay, hang on.
Not running a marathon. I'm marathoning The Mandalorian. Because Baby Not Yoda is life right now.
Okay, we thought that was Yoda for a while.
So there's a big argument in my house right now, because I call him Baby Yoda, and it's obviously, I don't know, obviously I guess it could be Yoda, but I think timeline wise it's not possible. So we're calling him Baby Not Yoda because they haven't named the race, right?
Yeah.
So that settled the argument in my house. My husband is very much like, it's not Yoda.
Yeah. So my my husband and my other kids, pretty much, not necessarily the oldest, he's not as into Star Wars as far as I can tell at this point, but they were watching Mandalorian, and then they started watching from episode 1. I think they watched up to episode 3 this weekend, and I'm just like, y'all do you. But I heard all of the arguments for, it's Baby Yoda, it's not Baby Yoda, it's Baby Yoda, it's not Baby Yoda. Like,
I'm just gonna revel in the glory of whatever he is.
Yes, he's adorable.
Yeah, we call him anything.
He's adorable.
Yep. Green baby.
Yes, baby alien or baby goblin. Either way. Okay, so Engaged Family Gaming has a question on prolonged engagement. How do you account for the difference between an adult binge watching 3 seasons of Legion to an undeveloped child putting the same amount of time into Pokemon?
Well,
is that different in brain development? Is the difference in brain development relevant? That was hard to say.
In brain development, maybe in terms of, again, self-regulation, it might be harder for a younger person to regulate, like, hey, I should stop and eat now, right? It might be harder for them to be aware of that kind of regulation, but I wouldn't say there is a difference in impact, because, again, media effects are minimal and generally negligible. But yeah, I mean, make sure your child is eating and sleeping properly. When it starts to impact like their sleep or their eating or hygiene or these kind of basic needs, then yes, absolutely you need to intervene. But I hope that someone would intervene if I was sitting on Netflix long enough for that to impact me as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe it's possible. I can't say that I've seen research. I can't cite research off the top of my mind about if they're less likely to be able to regulate that behavior appropriately. But I think developmentally wise, that would make sense. So keep an eye on your kids.
Yeah, the self-regulation piece is one that I really hadn't given a lot of thought to. But just so we have a 12-year-old. My other 12-year-old's going to turn 13 on next Monday, so
oh, goodness, teenager.
I know. Just seeing the way that they interact on the computer, and it's a little bit different because for both of them, we only have one computer, so they have to share. So there's that type of regulation. Well, you've been on the computer for an hour, it's time to give your brother a turn, yeah. Kind of thing. But if one of them isn't home, there's definitely that. I can see the point where, either my son or my daughter, all of a sudden they're like, okay, I've had to pee for so long and now I have to get up and do it. Like,
right.
And so that self-regulation piece, I would love to hear more about that for sure.
Yeah. Right now?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just reading. The general wanted me to ask that question. The good doctor knows that we agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, no, I meant to say I need to do more research on how to help them build that skill in themselves on an ongoing basis. And
it is, a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
Like, when I was getting my PhD, I have a colleague, I won't name him, maybe he's watching. Hello, colleague I am talking about. But he would install those things on the computer so you can't open Facebook, right? Because he's supposed to be writing his thesis, and he was so distracted that he just wanted to, escape from the perils of graduate school, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So even like adults have problems with it. So yeah.
I mean, look, I like some food, so
yeah.
I have plenty of problems with self-regulating for that. I mean, I think that there are a lot of different things that people have. Yeah. People have their vices, and people have their things that they have a hard time self-regulating on. But it's
sure.
Definitely something that I want to look into later.
For sure. And games especially, because they are developed specifically to keep you engaged.
Yes.
Right? That's what makes them fun. So,
yeah, no kidding. So are there games that are actually good for our mental health? Or is that becoming more of a trend in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a trend for people developing games specifically for mental health awareness or mental health education. I know that you mentioned I'm getting ahead of myself. I have like a list of the talking points.
You're fine.
So I am coming out with a book in January. It's called Video Games and Wellbeing. Press start. And it is specifically, each chapter is about different skills and abilities related to psychological well-being that games unintentionally teach us through in-game mechanics. So things like resilience, persistence, flexible thinking, mindfulness, goal setting, all of these things. So generally speaking, any game across genre can have these mechanics that do unintentionally teach us how to, persist until we kill Bowser. Right? It is teaching us like, okay, you failed, but let's try again. So in that sense, games are generally can be positive in impacting our well-being.
Books are like that too. Yeah. So Bite Mark said I'm pretty good about eating, drinking, etc. and I'm doing game stuff, but when I'm programming solutions, I am not there to realize I have those needs. I used to be like that with games, but I've gotten better. Yeah.
Yep. My husband is the same. The same. I'll be like, have you eaten today?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, it's a fair
when
question.
Your attention is very focused.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about this in a business context just a couple weeks ago. The week before Thanksgiving, we had this big meeting, and we talked about I don't know if any of you are familiar with Insights Discovery, but it's this program, or it's this essentially very in-depth quiz that you take, and it gives you personality traits, and then you read it and you do it for, how valid is this for you, and here's some things, here's how you communicate with your opposite, here's how you communicate with your the people who are right next to you. And the whole thing was our team found out that we have no green in our group, so it's based on the four colors, red, blue, green, yellow, and green is essentially the have you cared for everyone today? Like the care and feeding of the team. Is everyone's health doing okay right now? Making sure that everyone is taken care of. And we were talking about the fact that we don't have that in our team, and we're going, oh, that might be a problem.
Because when your hire needs to be,
I know. Well, and we seriously did talk about the next person we hire. We need to not get someone who is more like a lot of the rest of us, who are this shit needs to get done right now, and we're gonna work ourselves to the bone until it's done, and then it'll be over, and we can take a breath. We need someone who's like, yes, it needs to get done, but also you have to eat.
Right.
Yes, it needs to get done, but also everyone needs to sleep right now.
It's almost as if it's about balance.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that the problem that we have in our group is that we like to hire people who are like us. And so it's hard when you're trying to hire someone who is not like you, kind of thing. So, but yeah, definitely some of us need other people to say, when's the last time you went to the gym? Like, when's the last time you just took a walk? When's the last time you were not in front of your computer trying to work out how to do all these things for work, kind of thing? So
yeah, stretch.
Yes.
Water, hydrate.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is off topic, but We we had a water drinking contest at work not too long ago. It was miserable.
Oh. How much water? I hope not unhealthy levels of water.
No. It was it was not unhealthy levels of water. But we had someone who's not in our group say, hey, I've noticed you'll only ever get up, because collectively as a group, we have a tendency to, I'll get up and I'll be like, hey, does anybody else need water? And everyone looks down at their glass that's been empty for 3 hours. And they're like, oh, yeah, we do need water. Let's go get some. And so, or someone else will stand up and say, oh, I'm going to go get some tea. Does anybody want anything? I'm like, oh, I could use some more coffee. Let's go.
Right.
So she noticed that our group doesn't get up for these things. And she was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Y'all are so driven. Y'all are so motivated by getting stuff done. I made this board, and we're going to tally how many times we drink water today. And it was like, we all got up more frequently, and so we need someone like that in our group. But
yeah, you need someone to have the board, like, more water.
But also, we had to pee a lot that day.
Well, yeah. That's the other side of it.
We were not used to it. That is gamification. That is a good freaking point. That is gamification of your just daily health.
Point. Looking at the chat.
Bite Mark made it. Yes.
Yes, you do get the points.
Absolutely. Yes. So Bite Mark says, do you feel that games like Dark Souls, which are designed basically around failure, just insanely hard, are better or worse for developing that persistence?
That is a wonderful question. I don't know. I'm actually doing a panel at PAX South in January.
I will be there. Yay!
Awesome. Well, you know what? I will do some more research to answer this question, because it's about frustration tolerance and how games that are built, like Dark Souls, to be frustrating, like why they are enjoyable. So yeah, I don't know specifically related to persistence, but that's a wonderful question that I will absolutely Google later.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, there's frustrating games like Dark Souls, which is just difficult, and then there's frustrating things like the grind of RuneScape after you get past certain achievements. I think that those are two different frustrations.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's the frustration I feel when I play any first-person shooter. There's that. I have broken several mice because I'm not very good at them. It's very frustrating. Yet I still play. So
yeah, there you go.
Mystery.
RuneScape doesn't begin until after you max more. I have been playing RuneScape for 15 years, and I still don't have a single 99. Like, you just don't even know.
Oh my gosh. Maybe you should have been on my frustration panel just to talk about RuneScape.
Oh man, yeah,
you'll be the special guest to be like,
yeah,
the special guest here. Personal experience.
You can plant some questions with me. I'll come up and ask whatever you want.
Excellent.
Oh, Bite Mark says I watch people play Dark Souls, etc., and I'm just like, nope. I like my monitor on my desk and not thrown across the room. Yep. Fair point.
That is how I do Dark Souls as well. On Thuppence, there's a Twitch channel, Geeks Like Us, and they've been playing Dark Souls Thursday nights, and I'm just like, yep, that's fun for you. But
yeah,
just gonna stay on this side. Yeah.
There are a lot of things that I'm just like, good for you.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing too, about Twitch. Like, I can experience the game that I would never play because not fun to me.
Yeah.
But it's fun watching other people be frustrated.
Yeah. Yes, most definitely.
And the game is beautiful.
Yeah. Alex said, I like to play games like Dark Souls because it helps me learn to enjoy failure and recognize when I'm not having fun because I am pushing my personal expectations too hard.
Excellent point.
I don't know that I ever enjoy failure.
No?
No, it's just, I don't have that.
but it's different in a game.
It is.
Right?
It is. Very.
Maybe it's like the endless possibilities. You know, like, what's that game? What is it? Resident Evil. Where you have to have the ribbons to save your game. That failure I don't like. Because that is finite.
Yeah.
But if I have endless lives, I can keep coming back, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, dying and starting over from a save point is, I don't mind failing as long as there's a save point. That's a good distinction. Like, if if I fail and then later down the line there are more consequences for that failure before,
and I'm annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
To each his own. Like, that's why there's games of all genres everybody likes something different.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't mind watching other people play those games. Like, I'll watch someone play it.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of a distance there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I got pretty frustrated today on stream. I set everyone on fire, then loaded back in to try again. Fair. I feel like that's okay. So do you have any games that you would recommend for someone with anxiety?
So I don't know if I have any game recommendations. I mean, I don't necessarily have game recommendations to alleviate the symptoms of anxiety. But there is a really cool game called Adventures with Anxiety that was developed to help more of like an educational, informational tool. I say it like that, but it's a game, like it's entertaining. But to show players what it's like to experience anxiety.
I love that.
That one's quite cool. And then, like, on the other hand, like, its equivalent for depression maybe would be like Depression Quest. Like, it's a game. It's not like super fun because it's about depression, but it gives you a very real sense of what depression feels like to one particular experience.
And that one's called Depression
Quest. Yeah.
Here it is. Okay.
It's a text-based game. It's really well done, actually. But, you know, it's kind of like, do you watch that show? Have you seen on Netflix, Black Mirror?
I have, yes.
Okay. So you know how at the end of the episodes of Black Mirror, you're kind of like that's how you feel, that facial expression? Mm-hmm. That's how you feel when you play Depression Quest. But you will definitely have a better sense of, like, what it can feel like to some individuals. It's not, like, happy.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great thing to have in your back pocket if you are diagnosed with depression, you're diagnosed with anxiety, to say to someone who's like, I don't get it. I don't get what you're talking about. I don't get how you feel. I don't understand. You can say, look, if you really want to understand, go do this.
Yeah, for sure. And Depression Quest is really masterfully done. Because as you go through, depending on the choices you made before, you can still see all the choices, but some of them start to get scratched out because they're like no longer feasible options. Like the state of mind in which you were in, like you cannot do those options anymore. And it's really eye-opening.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out for sure.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So, is there an overall well-being strategy you would recommend to anyone with or without an underlying disorder?
I will start with, if you are seeking some kind of difficulties, please seek a professional. That's always a good go-to. In terms of maintaining well-being, you know, there's Maslow is a researcher in psychology back in the day, and he has a hierarchy of needs, and we have to meet the bottom needs before we can get to the top needs. The top needs is self-actualization, which is I know who I am and I know what I'm doing, and you know I am my best version of myself. But at the bottom are the basic needs: food, shelter, water. Right. So I think a good strategy for starting to maintain your well-being is make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're eating foods that your mom would be proud of. Right. At least one a day. At least one meal a day that your mom will be proud of, which is what Dr. B always says. And I love that line. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, let's see, one meal a day my mom would be proud of. I've done that a couple times today. I think that's good.
My dinner was pretty good, I will say.
Yeah, there we go. You basically covered what I was typing about why I was typing it. Well, good. Good. I'm glad.
Question answered.
Food my mom would be proud of. Yeah, that's our mom's kind of a foodie.
Yeah.
But I think that if she would be proud of a, good, well-rounded meal, whether she would really super enjoy that meal is a different question.
Yeah, that's a different question. It's about giving nutrients to your body.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair. And I like that. I'm going to steal that too, because If my kids have one meal that I would, that they called me up and I said, what'd you eat today? And all they said was nachos.
Yeah.
I'd be like, could you please eat a carrot? Just go get a carrot out of the refrigerator and eat one.
Just eat it. Yeah. You need some kind of nutrition in that body of yours. Yes.
Just eat it. Just eat it. It's fine. So if you could change one thing about the mental health field or people's views of mental health professionals and educators, what would that be?
I'm going to steal another line from Dr. B. I know that Dr. B is going to be on your show soon, and sorry, sir, I'm stealing all your anecdotes, but one of the biggest, I think, misconceptions is that diagnoses are a fit set of characteristics, and that one person with depression is just like presents themselves in the same way as everyone else with depression, for instance. But one experience is not everyone's experience. So what Dr. B always says is there are 9 characteristics that you need to meet 5 of the 9 to be clinically depressed. But if you think about 2 people could only share one of those characteristics, right? Because you only need 5 of the 9.
Yeah.
So there's no one size fits all. There's no, oh, my uncle is also depressed, so they're clearly having the same experience that you are having right now. I think it's really important to understand that everyone's experience is different. And diagnoses are not just like a fit set of like, okay, you're in this box and this is how you are. That's my soapbox for today.
I think that's a great soapbox, because I'm diagnosed with chronic depression, and if I have depression and I tell that to someone, especially at work, I feel like my friends and family are far more understanding than sometimes work family is.
Right.
So if I tell someone, why I have depression, I'm having a really dark day, and they're like, no, you're not. You were just laughing. Like, my cousin is depressed and she can't even get out of bed. And I'm like, well, that's not the same.
Right. That's a perfect example. It's not the same. Yeah.
You're the guest. You get to walk around on all the soapboxes here. Absolutely. Stand up on that soapbox.
If you follow me on Twitter, I get on soapboxes like once every 2 weeks. I'm just like, this is a rant. I ranted about gaming disorder a couple weeks ago. I was like, I can't stand it. So, yeah. Thank you for the soapbox.
Yes, absolutely. You can't have a broken arm. You were just carrying boxes. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Gaming disorder, not necessarily gaming disorder, but I feel like a lot of people blame games for things, and it just doesn't even make any sense. Some of the things that they say.
No, it doesn't. And, that goes down really to like the most basic level of humans are cognitive misers. We're lazy. We're lazy thinkers. And we want simple answers to complex problems. So if we see that there's been a mass shooting at a school committed by adolescents, the easy answer is adolescents play a lot of video games with guns, so those must be connected. Scientifically, there's no evidence to suggest that is the case. Yeah. Just so you know. Literally thousands of studies, and there's no connection. But we still see it. Like, even this year, the president of the United States made a comment about video games, and it's like, we have no scientific evidence, but we just want an answer that we can handle that. We can tackle that. We don't want to tackle something more complex, because that's too difficult. Yeah. So let's just do that. But, again, and video games, too, are just the latest in a long list of things that get the blame. Crossword puzzles were blamed because they might promote literacy, and that would be terrible. Elvis, right? Elvis was blamed for lots of things. His hips, his music, no good. So video games are just the next, and then it's going to be VR, and then it's going to be AR, and, it will continue on.
Okay, now go back to the crosswords. Because what is that? What is that story?
So in old-timey England, when crossword puzzles were put into the newspapers, there was a whole big uproar that the women were doing crossword puzzles, and it was going to make them literate, and that would be a huge
Not the women.
The women, not the women. The women can't vote. The women shouldn't be able to read. Yeah. Yep. And then like comic books, right? Comic books was a whole other moral panic, and arcades. Yeah. Although Elvis's hips is my favorite one. It's like Elvis's one man hips. With such magnetic hips, he could just ruin a generation.
Yes, totally, totally. Yeah. Well, and rock and roll, and you're gonna go to hell, right?
Of course you are.
It's like every time the kids are listening to that darn music again. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. There's always someone's gonna blame something on that. But the all of that stuff. AC/DC is my favorite band. Straight to hell. Straight to hell, Alpha.
There
Straight to hell.
There's no saving you.
I mean, they have a song about it. Come on.
That's funny. Yeah.
But the
new technology, new changes. I mean, it's scary, and I understand, but media effects, you know, at the end of the day, are small.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a whenever all of that president tweeting about video games causing mass shootings, I went on quite the rant as well, just comparing the amount of revenue that a country gets from gaming versus the number of mass shootings. And it's like
Japan.
Okay, so how come this is just in the US? How'd we manage to do that? Don't get me wrong.
There's definitely a more complex answer.
We screw plenty of stuff up here just in the US, but how did we manage to scientifically mess this up somehow?
Not good. And it actually does continue to surprise me that video games continue to be blamed for violent acts, especially at this point when there's like thousands and thousands of studies. But lazy thinkers.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even look at the research. That's a good point.
Clearly, obviously, because if they did, that would not be the answer. But I mean, it's not as good of a soundbite. Like, it is a complex mix of social and economic, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. If women can't read, how are they going to read recipes to make my pies? Alex, I will make you a pie. It will be only for you.
I don't think you want to eat that pie, Alex. I'm going to say, don't eat that pie.
So Alex has a question. He says, what are your thoughts on escapism?
Escapism is one of the motivations that people use to play games, just like some people play because they like a sense of achievement. Some people play because they want the social interaction. Some people play to escape, and it's not necessarily negative. It's usually framed in a way that makes it seem negative, but, you know, I like to read books to escape to other worlds. I like to watch Game of Thrones to escape to Westeros. So, yeah, it's just one of the main motivations that people have or can report having for playing games. Which, of course, it's a great sense. You get to take on a character. If you play, I'm a role-playing game kind of girl. You know, live out your medieval dreams, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. And I think reading is a perfect example too, because, well, it took me 2 months to finish the book before. 3 books ago, it took me 2 months to finish a book, which is highly unusual because the next book I finished in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So I read quite a bit, and the reason that it took me so long to finish that one book, great book. If you haven't read the book Biased, where's my phone? Well, I'll find a link. The name of the book is Biased. It's a wonderful book filled with all kinds of references to studies and all sorts of different anecdotes and everything. The problem was that it was just so repetitive, and the way that the author told some of these stories, she would tell the story, start to move on, and then go back to the story, and then tell the story and start to move on, and go back to that was
super easy.
Yeah, it was frustrating the way that it was written. All of the studies and everything in it are fantastic. It is a good book. But the next book that I read, I was like, I don't want another book like this right now. I want a completely different book that can just take my mind off of everything, because most of the time when I read, it's at night in order to shut my brain down. Right. Yeah. So it, you know, and I picked up the Raven Boys series, which was recommended to me on Twitter when I was looking for more things to read.
Awesome.
So it's like, if I spend 3 hours when I'm trying to go to sleep reading, is that better or worse than spending 3 hours when I'm not trying to go to sleep playing a game? Or
because if you're trying to go to sleep, playing a game probably won't help.
Right, no. Or marathoning, you know, Game of Thrones.
Marathoning. There you go.
Take your pick. Which one's worse? Which one's better? It's,
yeah,
you know.
Right. You know, you wouldn't blink an eye. You wouldn't blink an eye if your child spent the whole weekend locked door not locked, in their room, reading Songs of Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
You would say, my child is so smart.
Yep.
They are reading all of the George R. R. Martin books. But if, again, if it's something else, like if it's sitting in there listening to the devil's music or,
Darn those kids.
Yeah. You got to really think about what impact is it really having on your child. And every child is different. Some kids can regulate better than others. Some kid, there's stranger danger. There are a lot of things to consider. But just to make a blanket statement like it's worse than something else, it's
right.
not.
Right. And I enjoy the comparison of gaming to reading specifically with escapism because it's like, okay, how are you really saying one is better? Right. I just wanted to write this down before I forget.
Of course.
I'm writing down self-regulation skills. Teach two kids. There we go. I have my little book that I write stuff down in whenever I do these, and it's filled with stuff that I just am gonna get to eventually.
I know, I do have like a random list of things too, and it's like one day.
Yes.
One day I will get to all of that.
Right, absolutely. So Engaged Family Gaming asks, is there historical data regarding the duration of previous moral panics? Good night,
There is. Dr. B tweeted not that long ago, when I went on my last rant, he tweeted, where have I seen this before? And it was like all the things listed and like crossed out. And it was like crossword puzzles, comic books, rock and roll music, like arcade parlors, video games, online games, violent games. Like there's always just something of the era. So there is data, yes. I can't really point you to something specific, but I'm sure you could find it on Google Scholar pretty quickly. I'm sure there's some book chapter. Actually, I'm so dumb. Of course there's a book chapter. There's a book chapter in the video game debate, which I know you have. The first chapter. It was written by Nick Bowman from Texas Tech. He's at Tech now. About the rise of the moral panic, and he talks all about that. So you have that book. I know you do, because I was on your podcast about it. So. There you
go. Okay, the video game debate.
So the video game debate I published a few years ago, and I was in game studies studying it, and I was like, what book would have wanted when I started studying this? And that's basically what I created. So every chapter is written by an expert in the field, focusing on one of the specific debates around games. So there's a historical chapter, The Rise of the Moral Panic, but there's one on addiction, there's one on aggression, there's social outcomes, there's gaming communities, there's games and learning, there's physical impact. So it's like all of the primary debates, and then one of the leading researchers in the area just puts like all the research into like 10 pages.
Nice.
Really what I wish I had when I was an undergrad, but now you all can have it. So,
well, and that kind of goes back to the why you do this, right? You wanted to research into it, and then you just kind of led into, okay, well, this is what I do now.
yeah, and I want other people to have the information, because I feel like with game studies in particular, the information is really kind of hidden. Like, why do we still make these claims between violent crime and violent video games? Because this information, while I am very well aware of it, people clearly still are not, right? So if there's anything I can do to help get that information out, I want to do that. So that was, why we did that book.
Yep, absolutely. One of my child's teachers told her graphic novels weren't real books. We had a nice conversation about how sometimes teachers are wrong. Yes.
Yes.
Very true.
Teachers are people too. They make mistakes. Graphic novels are wonderful.
Yep. I think we live in a time when better or worse are just invalid. All right. Yeah, Alex, exactly. Writing stuff down etches into my mind, so when an opportunity comes up, I make the connection and try to apply what I wrote down. Yep. I do the same thing. Like this morning, I was making an appointment to take my car in because my brake light on the inside keeps coming on even whenever the emergency brake is not on, or the parking brake is not on.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, well, I got to take it in. So I made an appointment and immediately called someone to say, hey, I made this appointment. I just don't want to forget.
Good night.
Let the dog in, okay? So yeah, it's like either saying it out loud or, the notes that I take are the most ridiculous things because I never look back at them, but it's just writing it down.
Yeah. You're processing it another way.
Right.
I mean, if you want to get all sciencey, that absolutely helps you remember.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
you have to process it in a different. But yeah.
So I'm going to... Oh, Engaged Family Gaming System. I'm going to be real. I don't think I have that book. You keep saying I do, but it's not on my shelf.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
You totally do.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, there's a link to it that I just put in the chat.
Purchase.
Yes,
Find another
absolutely.
one. Yeah.
So I'm going to just open it to any remaining community Q&A. If you have any questions for Dr. Kowert, feel free to put them in there. And then while we wait for people to type everything out, I'm just going to open the floor to you. And if you have anything else you want to throw out there, anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about, or any links or research or anything coming up that you want to talk about, feel free.
I will say that tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. And we are doing a lot of fundraising over at Take This. We are a nonprofit organization that we run the AFK rooms at different PAXs, and we do a lot of outreach.
Those.
And I know, right? The AFK rooms are amazing.
Yes.
They're amazing. I have used them. They're like, you work here. I'm like, I need to use this AFK room. Just give me a coloring book. So if you are so inclined, there will be a lot of streaming happening tomorrow. We'll be talking about it on the Twitter. It's at TakeThis.org. And if you are looking for a nonprofit to support tomorrow, Take This is a great one.
Yeah, Take This. The first time I walked into the AFK room was at last year's PAX South. And I walked in and I was just like, this is not even in the same building. This is a completely different world right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the people who work there are they're just incredible.
Yep. Yeah, I walked in and somebody just, very quietly asked me if I knew what this was and explained it to me. And I went and sat down and just chilled for a little bit. And they came over just one time. I was there for like 10 minutes. They came over one time and just said, want to make sure that you don't need anything, make sure that everything's good. And I was just like, no, totally fine.
It's a great place. Again, I'm Dr. B. I'm giving him so many credits, and he's not even watching this. I don't think. Maybe he's here. But the way he describes it is like the con is overwhelming.
Yes.
Then you go in there and you can just go.
Yeah,
and that's like exactly the feeling
that
you have when you go in there. It's like,
that breath is the difference.
Oh,
you just walk in and it's just a big sigh. It's great.
Yes. But they cost money to run.
Yes. Yeah, so I did post a link to takethis.org.
Thank you.
Do you guys post all of the streams that are on the website?
Tomorrow. Actually, there is a post. Let me see. I'll find the post. I think we put up a post on the blog. But all day tomorrow we will be linking all the different streams, and there's a bunch.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the whole streaming schedule.
Oh, you found it. Excellent.
I did, yes. So if you at any point tomorrow, holy crap, from 10 a.m.
all day
until midnight.
Yeah, and we have some wonderful ambassador streamers, and it's all different. I think there might be some singing in there somewhere.
I love it.
There's some chatting. There's some gaming. A little bit of everything for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Did I miss the serial killer question? We did not do the serial killer question today. And
I
that's
don't
okay.
have a favorite.
That's fine.
That's why we talked about movie choices. I
Yes.
gave you the nugget of wisdom by Amadeus.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
feel like
Which
I
I'm
have enriched your
looking
lives.
forward to that one.
It's so beautiful. It's long. Not good for kids, but it's a beautiful movie.
That's okay. Sometimes I need a non-kids movie.
True.
Honestly.
Have you seen? You have not seen Frozen 2 yet.
I have not. My daughter went on a date this weekend to see it without me.
I'm surprised you didn't go and sit in the back row.
Well, so the boy's grandmother went with them.
Okay.
So I was like, okay,
She
well,
got to see it.
yeah. But I am looking forward to it. I saw a preview whenever I took the kids to see Maleficent.
Okay.
I saw the preview for Frozen 2, and I was like, okay. I liked the first one, but this one looks really good, so.
It's good. I think it is. My 4-year-old might have been a little too young.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like 4-year-olds, taking them to the movies is just
It's It's already a risk, right?
It is a risk.
It was her first movie, and all her friends from school were going, and I was like, okay. But you know, like even like a loud noise is scary to a 4-year-old, especially in the movie theater.
Right. Yeah.
I will say the 4-year-old next to me, bless her, crawled into her mom's lap and was crying and said, I want to go home. I want to go home. And I was like, I don't blame you. It's scary. But yeah. I'm sure at 12, your daughter was fine.
Yes. She was totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there are no other questions or nothing else that you want to say, I will just say thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you have not checked out Dr. Kowert on Twitter or her website, I'll post those again for you. And chat, give me just a minute to disconnect with our guest, and I will be right back playing something. I'm not sure what quite yet. We'll see what we're going to be playing.
Bye, guys.
Oh, Bite Mark says, thanks so much for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, chat, give me just a second. I am always so appreciative that people will take the time to chat with me and with the community about things that they're passionate about. I hope you're able to find some comfort in some portion of this interview and that you feel a little less alone, a little less isolated than you did before. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, review, rate, subscribe. Any support is super helpful. Until next time, remember that well-being is a lifelong journey. We are all more than our challenges and diagnoses. And if someone seems super normal, it might be because you don't know them or haven't heard their personal story yet. Until next time.